Hi, folks. Welcome back to This Week, where we talk with Republicans and reformers working to defend freedom, restore balance, and turn back California's one-party rule. Today's guest is Mark Meuser, a constitutional attorney with the Dhillon Law Group, a veteran of dozens of high-stakes cases, and one of the nation's leading voices on election law. Mark's career is defined by his fight for the little guy against powerful corporations and government overreach. From the precedent-setting Gilstrap v. United Airlines victory for disability rights to more than 36 COVID-era lawsuits that helped reopen schools, churches, and small businesses. He's advised national campaigns, worked in recounts and election day war rooms in multiple states, and has helped shape key Supreme Court briefs on constitutional questions. Most recently, Mark has taken a leading role in the legal challenges to Governor Gavin Newsom's proposed redistricting measure, Prop 50, serving as legal counsel in petitions and litigation filed to block the measure from the ballot and to defend the state's existing redistricting rules. His work on these redistricting cases places him at the center of the GOP's legal response to Prop 50. Welcome, Mark.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for coming out. You're a very busy guy, so I'm very happy you were able to come out because I think this is a really important conversation to have because I think what's happening with our state right now, a lot of people... because it's a procedural thing, it's easy for a lot of people, a lot of regular voters, low information voters to just overlook it, right? But it's a very serious state constitutional crisis, right?
Oh, very much so, very much so. And we've already filed 2 lawsuits here in the state of California. And I'll go through those of what we did, why we did it, and then we'll move to what the future holds. But it's very important to understand, before we even really get into the litigation, kind of frame the issue. Because in order to do this particular redistricting effort, Gavin Newsom had to violate the California Constitution. And he redrew the lines in a way that's going to subject the state to litigation for years. So it is a partisan redrawing of lines that required violating the Constitution. And his lines were drawn with so many violations to the U.S. Constitution and the California Constitution that it's going to subject any vote of the people to litigation from years to come. Contrast that with Texas, that redistrict themselves in response to litigation to remove constitutional problems, and they did it following their state's constitution. It is a real juxtaposed position that we find ourselves in here right now, where Texas does it to avoid constitutional violations and follows the Constitution. But California, in order to respond to Texas, has to violate the Constitution and create constitutional problems that will put us in court.
That's so interesting. And for anybody at home who may not know the whole story, so Gavin Newsom framed it himself as the California redistricting is a response to Texas. And what you're explaining is it's an entirely different thing. I'm just curious, has any other governor ever done something like that aggressively in response to effectively stripped the rights of his own constituents to retaliate against another state?
Well, as long as there are politicians, they are always trying to stretch the rules, because the problem with politicians is they want more power for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason why we have a constitution, why we have a federal constitution, why we have state constitutions. Constitutions are the agreement between the governed and the government, saying you can only govern us within these boundaries. And so when politicians exceed their constitutional authority, it is up to the courts to weigh in and to determine, has the government exceeded their constitutional authorities? And if so, the court is to stop the government from going forward. And so we're going to get into the legal history of what is going on here, but we also need to talk about the political history of what got us here. And I think it's probably first better to actually start with that political history. Would you agree?
Yeah. Let's jump into the political history.
So, as you said,
yeah.
Gavin Newsom is saying that this is a response to Texas.
Yeah.
This is a response to Donald Trump stealing 5 congressional seats in Texas.
That's what he said. Yeah.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
But the political history is not true.
Yeah.
Because in order to understand this, we got to go to redistricting in 2021.
Uh-huh.
In 2021, California had a redistricting commission. The commission met. They met for over a year, redrew the lines, and there's been not a single lawsuit against the congressional districts drawn by that commission.
And I think let's explain, too, for anybody who may not know, the current system, too, which was democratically chosen by the voters, which is what makes it even more egregious what Gavin is doing, right?
Yes. So back in 2008 and 2010, the voters of the state of California passed a pair of constitutional amendments, which we said, we do not want the politicians picking their voters.
Yeah.
We want an independent commission to come in and draw the lines without any consideration of political party. We want lines that are as compact as possible. We don't want lines that, circumvent major populations, go for distant populations when there's closer populations. So let's be as contiguous as possible. Let's keep community of interest is the same, and let's draw our lines that way. And so that passed, which means that there are 15 commissioners selected every 10 years, and they sit down and they get all the testimony from the communities. They look at the census data. They look at all this data, and they start drawing the lines because congressional districts have to be within one person based upon the census data. So we got 52 districts in California, and they vary by one person.
Wow.
So this is not a small job. This is a major undertaking, taking hundreds and thousands of hours of testimony given. And after they draw the lines, there is a process. The voters, option number 1, the voters within a certain number of days can sign enough signatures that it goes to a referendum to all voters, and the voters get to vote the maps up or down. Gotcha. It's just an up or down vote. If they get enough signatures, then it's an up or down vote. That didn't happen. The second option is somebody sues and says, you have violated, and generally speaking, you could violate the California Constitution. You can violate the U.S. Constitution as to the 14th or 15th Amendment, or for congressional races like this, you can sue under the Voting Rights Act, saying, hey, you didn't follow the law that Congress passed and how you redraw the lines. No lawsuits were brought. So no referendum.
Yeah.
No lawsuits were brought. So and those were the lines drawn by the commission, and that is what's supposed to be in effect for the elections of 2022 through the elections of 2030.
Yeah, and this system was, like you said, put in place in 2010, because there were 2 separate elections, right? 2007 and 2010. So California voters voted on it twice.
Well, the first time they voted, it was for all the state offices.
Gotcha.
The second time they voted in 2010, it was to add the congressional offices to the commission. And so that it was a 2-part step of what happened there.
And the goal was to take that power away from politicians and put it in the hands of this independent commission, which was... It's supposed to be fair, right? I think, what is it, like 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and then 2 independents?
It's 5, 5, and 4.
5, 5, and 4.
Yeah.
Which is fair, right? Instead of it being in Gavin's hands, which is what he's trying to do now.
Yes. So that's how Texas did it. In the state, that's how California did.
Yeah.
In the state of Texas, they don't have an independent redistricting commission. It is done by the legislature, which is what is required in the United States Constitution. The United States Constitution says that the state legislature shall draw the lines. Now, the United States Supreme Court has said that if the voters want to give that power to the a commission, they are allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court has blessed that if you have a commission, you can use a commission. But if you don't, the United States Constitution says that this duty belongs to the legislature. So the United States Constitution says state legislatures shall draw congressional lines.
Yeah.
There's nothing in any of their laws that says that thou shalt not do it. You should do it by a commission. Now, in 2021, when the Texas legislature was drawing the lines, the Texas Democrats fled the state. And they were out of the state for many days as they went and fundraised. So some things do not change.
Just like they did now. They did it.
Exact same thing.
They went to Illinois. They came out to California.
So in 2021, the Texas legislature drew the lines. Now, part of the congressional drawing of the lines, there was a Fifth Circuit decision that was many years old that said, hey, if you can take two minority groups and put them together so that they create a majority of the population of a district, then that is proper under the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act says that if there's enough minority in an area, you're supposed, and they're compact, you're supposed to draw a congressional district so that that minority has the ability to elect a person of their color.
That's
now,
representative of them, basically, yeah.
There's more steps to it. The Supreme Court has a 3-part test, and I don't need to get into all that because it's not necessary for this discussion. But the Fifth Circuit has said, well, not only does the Voting Rights Act say that if you have one minority group, if you can take two minority groups and put them together, then you're supposed to create a Voting Rights Act district. So Texas created 4 coalition minority groups, taking African American, Black, and Latinos, which they're called brown. So these, in legal lingo, they're often called brown-black districts or black-brown districts. So they created 4 black-brown districts. Neither population was enough that they would have got their district on their own, but if you put these two together, you create a minority-majority district or a coalition district. So they had some what are called voting rights districts where there was enough African Americans that you gave them a district, or there's enough Latinos that you gave them a district. But there was these 4 additional coalition districts that were drawn. Now, Galveston County, they were drawing their lines for commissioners. Some states call them commissioners, some states call them supervisors, but it's basically the people who run the county government. They were supposed to draw the Galveston County for 4 districts. Now they decided we're not going to draw our maps with race in mind at all. We're just going to lay the map out. We don't have enough of a population that we have a minority majority district. We're just going to draw it with no race in mind. Let's look at the lines to be the most compact. Look at where the population is. Look at where, not divide, rivers and stuff like that. They just tried to draw fair maps. Joe Biden's Department of Justice said, no, you needed to have drawn a coalition district here in Galveston County. You need to take this black population clear up here and this brown population clear over here and draw one really gerrymandered district to ensure that the minority population had this one seat. That ended up, Joe Biden sued. It went to court. It went to federal court. And a federal judge said, well, based upon this Fifth Circuit decision, I have no choice but to say that, yeah, you had to draw this coalition district. That went on appeals to the Fifth Circuit. And the Fifth Circuit, which was a 3-judge panel, said, you know what? This is unconstitutional. Yes, we have this Fifth Circuit decision, but since then, the Fourth Circuit, the Sixth Circuit, several other circuits have looked at these coalition districts and said that violates the 14th and 15th Amendment. Congress didn't say you're supposed to draw these coalition districts. This is a judicial interpretation of the Voting Rights Act. So other circuits have said coalition districts are unconstitutional. And if you're looking at race, taking the black, taking the brown, drawing lines so that they can do that, that violates the 14th and 15th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is equal protection. The 15th Amendment is the right to vote. And so this 3-judge panel says, we would say that's unconstitutional, but we're bound by this Fifth Circuit decision that was an en banc panel, which means all the judges of the Fifth Circuit. So they said, you know what? You have to draw these districts, But we're going to ask the Fifth Circuit to relook at their old opinion and decide, do they need to, did they overreach when they made this decision a long time ago?
Mm-hmm. So question real quick. So what was their logic specifically in non-technical terms of why the coalition districts weren't constitutional?
Because the 14th Amendment equal protection says means we're supposed to live in a colorblind society.
Gotcha. So they thought you're racially profiling these districts.
Yes.
Interesting.
So because Congress said in the Voting Rights Act, in order to take care of systematic racism, you can draw these districts to protect minority groups. What the court had done was expanded that and created what was called coalition districts. And so the state of Texas, in drawing their congressional districts, said, hey, the law says we have to draw these.
They're following the law.
They're following the law applied at that time. Well, the en banc panel took the case. They said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and revisit this. And in August of 2024, they came down and said, yes, that you guys, the three-judge panel, you're correct. We were wrong way back when. We shouldn't have made that decision. Coalition districts are race gerrymandering. They violate the 14th and 15th Amendment, and thus, Galveston, you don't have to redraw your lines.
Wow.
So that was good for Galveston. Well, in 2025, Donald Trump takes over the presidency. The former partner of my firm, Harmeet Dhillon, becomes the civil rights head of the Department of Justice. And she sends a letter to Greg Abbott. She says, Mr. Abbott, the law has changed. You guys have drawn unconstitutional districts. What's your choice? You want to take care of this in the courthouse? We know what the Fifth Circuit's going to do. Or you got the legislature. They're already scheduled to do a special session. You can have them take care of this. Your choice.
Yeah.
Well, Greg Abbott can read the tea leaves. Fifth Circuit just said that these districts are unconstitutional. If we get sued, we're going to spend taxpayer dollars to defend a lawsuit that we can't defend.
Yeah.
So, with his authority and the legislature's constitutional duty to draw congressional districts constitutionally, they called the special session had already been called. They just added another item to the agenda. And so Texas had these 4 really gerrymandered districts. And if you were to look at them, they are really weird.
Like in shape or?
Oh, yeah. One in Texas is what I call a backwards sheet. And it's this really long district that has a little short section, and then it comes back across the city of Dallas. And so it's like they grabbed the population up here, and then they grabbed another population up here, and the district was drawn to get the blacks over here and the browns over here and create a district. But in between them is another congressional district that is for the whites, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it was a gerrymandered district with race in mind.
Yeah.
Another one down in Houston almost looks like a donut. It kind of goes all the way around. So there's this donut hole. So it kind of goes from 2 o'clock all the way around to 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then it kind of shoots out. And then it has kind of a Florida panhandle that goes way down. And it's not very wide, but it's very clear. It's just picking up these racial neighborhoods so that they can create this brown-black coalition district. And so you have these 4 districts that when you look at them, it's like these are gerrymandered districts. But they were gerrymandered to draw the line so that you had these coalition districts, which the Texas legislature at the time were drawing according to the law. That law had changed because Biden sued Galveston, Texas. And so now that they came in, the Texas legislature, understanding that these districts, that all the way around them were really solid Republican districts. Now, all of a sudden, when you are no longer drawing these really weird lines to guarantee elections for Democrats, and you're drawing more compact districts, and all the districts around are now going to be more compact because you're not having to draw around race. Now, all of a sudden, all 4 of those districts got formed into Republican districts. And so by not drawing the lines by race, the Democrats automatically lost 4 seats.
Interesting. So Biden kind of like shot himself in the foot?
The Democrats and Biden shot themselves in the foot. Yeah. Now, of course, Greg Abbott and the Republicans didn't take an opportunity to waste. They made sure that they picked up those 4 seats. But you say, wait, Mark, I keep hearing 5.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember that the Hispanic population in Texas has been swinging more Republican.
Yeah.
So because of that, there was a particular congressional district that in the very near future was going to become a Republican seat.
Interesting.
So what the Texas legislature did is says, we're going to help it get there a little bit sooner. So by squeezing some more Democrats into a Democrat and pulling a few more Republicans, just by shifting the lines a little bit here and there, all of a sudden they took a seat that probably within the next 2 to 6 years was going to become a Republican seat anyways. They just made sure that they got it now.
Yeah.
And, hey, we're in this process. Let's draw the lines to be advantageous to our side. We see where the trends are going. Let's make sure that why put in millions of dollars this cycle, next cycle, and the next cycle to get the seat? Let's just get it now.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we got to these 5 seats. Biden sued. Biden lost. The Fifth Circuit now joined its sister circuits in concluding that these coalition districts were unconstitutional. So you could not have drawn these coalition districts in Tennessee. You could not have drawn these coalition districts in North Carolina. These coalition districts are unconstitutional everywhere else but Texas. Texas followed the law. That law got straightened out. Trump said, hey, you better fix it or else we're going to sue you.
Yeah.
And rather than wait a couple years for prolonged litigation at a great expense to the Texas, Greg Abbott and company took care of it. So that's kind of the history, that you can't blame Trump and the Republicans of Texas. You really have to blame Joe Biden trying to push these coalition districts beyond where the courts were willing to say. Because really, when you look at that decision, the old decision, it was judicial activism. It was the courts adding requirements that Congress and the United States Constitution did not require. It was really Biden trying to push for more, resulted in the courts reevaluating its old decisions and saying, wait a second, we made a mistake. We were judicial activists, and we need to go back to original intent. And so the court corrected a problem. Texas corrected a problem.
It's so interesting. They got too greedy. So then, just going back to Newsom, then he got this situation which played out not just at the state level, the federal level as well, and now Texas is just following the law. And he basically made it about himself. And I see it as his presidential run, too.
It's 1,000%. What greater way to show that you are the warrior against Donald Trump than to misframe what's happening in Texas and saying it's Donald Trump's fault, and now whipping up the California Democrats into a frenzy and say, hey, we got to fight against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is destroying democracy. We're going to do these temporary fixes.
It's never temporary with them.
Well, we'll get into that. But, he worked his followers up into a frenzy. And, you got to understand that when these commissions were being brought forth, Nancy Pelosi was one of the biggest advocates. She raised a lot of money to try to defeat the will of the voters on these commissions.
Wow.
She has never liked these commissions.
Interesting.
And so now the opportunity has arisen. Gavin wants to run for president.
Yeah.
Gavin wants the national attention.
Yeah.
He wants, and understand that right now Prop 50 ads are running in New York. They are running in Washington, D.C.
Really?
He is trying to raise money for the Prop 50 efforts
around the country,
on the East Coast. What he is doing is he's building his name recognition, and yes, he's doing it to raise money. So the ads say, take a picture of this code so that you can donate to our efforts here in California. I mean, so it's very clear. It's not necessarily the ads that we are seeing here, but he is running almost wall-to-wall ads around the country, or in Democrat strongholds, obviously.
He's activating his base.
And he's raising money, developing a fundraiser list so that when he does run for president,
he has it.
He has all these donors.
So question, is he using our taxpayer money to do that?
Well, he is using taxpayer dollars to run an election. He has formed a PAC, which, many wealthy individuals are helping fund. I mean, he's probably got money from the DCCC. I haven't looked at his fundraising list, but George Soros announced that he's dumping a bunch of money into this. I don't know if it's into Gavin's PAC or if it's into something else, but there are multiple efforts going on of money just flowing into the state. He's developing a donor list because he is running the efforts to encourage voters to vote yes on it. And by running ads across the country, those people who donate to this effort, Gavin's going to have their contact information when you donate. And thus, when he decides to run for president, he has a ready-made donor list that he's going to be, going to give him a huge head start on any other candidate who may be a regional candidate, a governor or U.S. senator, where they may only have a fundraising list for their state. He's going to have a national list when he gets started, which is going to be a huge head start because he's going to be able to raise more money sooner.
Question. I saw the cost of the elections somewhere close to $250 million, $250 million. Is that right?
The last number I heard, I think, was like 279 or 283 or something like that.
Wow.
So it's over $250 million.
And what does all that money go into?
It goes to the counties to administer the elections. So, this is just kind of the standard cost to run an election in a state that has 40 million people because California can't have one day of voting. We mail ballots to every registered voter. We have voting centers that are open up days before the election. You have to have staff that are monitoring that. Then we have 4 different styles of ballots, which means that it takes almost a month to count ballots in some of the larger counties because they have to count all of these, and you have to reconcile those numbers, and then you count all the next type of ballots and the next type of ballots. And so there's a long process, and it costs the counties a lot of money. And since this is a statewide election, the state has to reimburse the counties. So each of the counties has said, this is what we think it's going to cost. They sent that to the treasurer. The treasurer has told the legislature, okay, this is going to cost us X amount of money. And the legislature has to authorize that money.
Interesting. Something I've seen people mention, there is the impression out there, and this is actually something we talked about at the convention. There is the impression out there that even if this passes, this will end up at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will overturn it. What you told me is that it won't happen like that because the Supreme Court treats it as a political issue, right? And they don't want to have hands on it.
No, okay. Talking about multiple things, so let's kind of break it down here.
Yeah.
So I've already filed 2 lawsuits regarding this. The first one happened on August 18th. On August 18th, the legislature came back after being gone for about a month. They had a month off for their summer recess. And while they were gone, that's when all of a sudden Gavin Newsom got the bee in his bonnet and decided that he was going to do this. So on August 18th, legislation is introduced for the first time. Now, our Constitution says any language that is introduced must sit on the table for 30 days before the legislatures are allowed to have a hearing on it. Well, the legislature and Gavin didn't want to wait 30 days. So the day they introduced it, they actually had committee hearings on it.
Wow.
The same day. Rules Committee met. The next day, the elections committees met. The next day after that, appropriations met. There were over the first 72 hours of the bill being introduced, 3 different committees took testimony on it.
So they really rushed it through.
Yeah. And so that night on August 18th, we filed an emergency writ with the Supreme Court and said, hey, legislature is violating the law. Mm-hmm. Order them to sit on this bill for 30 days before they do anything about it. Mm-hmm. The California Supreme Court decided we are not going to take this up. Mm-hmm. We're not taking it up because we believe it's premature. Mm-hmm. Okay, they want Gavin to sign the bill before we bring a lawsuit. That's the only interpretation I could come out of their short 3-line order. Uh-huh. So we let Gavin sign the bill. Mm-hmm. We then filed our second writ. Now, this writ raised multiple California constitutional violations. Mm-hmm. We again raised the fact that they didn't wait 30 days. We raised the fact that back in the 80s, the California Supreme Court determined in a case that's often called Duke-Majan that in California, our Constitution only allows redistricting to happen once every 10 years, and that the legislature couldn't come to the people and ask them to pass an initiative to allow them to redistrict a second time because they didn't like how the lines were drawn by a prior legislature. So the legislature wanted a second bite at the apple, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. We're not going to even let the voters vote on that issue. So we thought that was pretty strong. Hey, you guys said they couldn't do it back in the 80s. Why can they now do it in the 2020s?
Yeah.
So we raised that. We also raised the argument of what's called ultra-virus activity. The California Constitution says that it's the commission that draws the lines. Mm-hmm. And if the lines are deemed unconstitutional or there's a referendum, then it's the commission that has to redraw the lines. It doesn't say anything about the legislature drawing the lines. It's very clear that this is a power that has been taken away from the legislature. Mm-hmm. And so for the legislature to actually sit down and draw the lines is an activity that is unconstitutional for them to do. And when a legislative body does something that is unconstitutional, it is called ultra-virus, and it is not to take effect. Mm-hmm. So we raised that. We also raised a couple other issues that, the lines that were drawn violated multiple provisions of the Constitution in not keeping districts, compact, all these things that they did that violated. They reached for populations further away when there was populations closer. Yeah. So
they drew Kevin Kiley's like it's an elephant.
Yes.
It's like a joke.
There's a Snoopy in Orange County.
Really?
Yeah. There's a pouncing puppy down in San Diego.
I mean, they did it as a joke, right? It's like it has to be.
There's a desert chomper out in Palm Desert.
Oh my God.
There's just all sorts of funny lines that just. When you look at them, it's just absolutely unconscionable. Yeah. So we brought that, and the Supreme Court, a California Supreme Court, after 2 days came back with a decision, and they said we're not going to stop the election. Mm-hmm. Now they didn't say that. They basically said we're not going to pick up the writ. Mm-hmm. It is something that the Supreme Court could do. They can choose not to accept the writ, and they exercised it. Mm-hmm. It's an important issue. They just decided that they weren't going to do it. Mm-hmm. Well, why can't I appeal that to the United States Supreme Court? That's because those petitions contained state constitutional violations. Mm-hmm. The United States Supreme Court does not make decisions on state constitutional issues. They make decisions based upon the United States Constitution. So the California Supreme Court is a final arbiter of state constitutional violations. They chose not to step in. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, once the voters vote on this, we can always file a lawsuit in state court in California and ask for an injunction. Mm-hmm. But there are also federal violations. Mm-hmm. And this kind of goes into our discussion about Texas, where if you're drawing lines with race in mind, are they violating the 14th and the 15th Amendment? And some of the districts that Gavin Newsom drew, it is very clear that when you look at them in comparison with the old lines, that they went, oh, we want, in order, we're going to take out this white neighborhood and put it in this district, and we're going to take this Hispanic neighbor and put it up in this district. And so when you start comparing these lines, how they changed, it is very clear that on multiple congressional districts, Gavin Newsom and gerrymandering the state.
It's good.
He redrew the lines with race in mind. And that would be a violation of the 14th and the 15th Amendment.
According to the latest precedent.
Well, not even based upon that, just based upon Supreme Court ruling over the decades, you cannot draw congressional districts with race in mind. If you're drawing what's called a voter rights district, there's 3 procedural steps that you have to go through in order to draw that with race in mind. You have to find that this is a group that votes the same, that they have been oppressed and have not been allowed to vote for candidates of their favor because of racial animus.
Gotcha.
Well, these lines that are drawn by Gavin are drawn completely on race, so you don't even get to that VRA. These are just strictly 14th and 15th Amendment. This will be filed in what we call a 3-judge panel. And so under the 3-judge panel, if, once the election happens, we can file that suit in federal court. The reason why we can't file it yet is because the Supreme Court has a federal doctrine that when it comes to federal judges, they are not supposed to stop an election. So once an election gets started, they are not supposed to do anything to change the rules of an election or to stop an election. They're supposed to allow it to happen. Once the election occurs, then they can stop the result of the election with an injunction. But they are not to deprive the voters of the ability to vote because it causes confusion. If something's on the ballot, then it's taken off or put back on, or the rules are changed. So it's called the Purcell's. It's the Purcell's doctrine. And so under Purcell's, federal judges are not supposed to stop the election. So we don't file the federal court now. We have to wait till the voters vote. And then on November 5th, if the voters of California buy the lie of Gavin Newsom to give him unconstitutional power to redraw these lines, we will be filing that federal lawsuit. It will get filed the very next day. We'll go to a 3-judge panel, and we're going to ask them, hey, schedule a hearing real quick, because we need to show you how these lines are unconstitutionally drawn. They were drawn with race in mind. And as such, stop these lines from going into effect. It's going to be asking for an immediate injunction to stop the lines from the new lines
from going into action,
from being the election for the 2026. This is very important that this happens over a very short period of time, because anybody who wants to run for Congress on December 19th is going to be allowed to pull papers to gather signatures in lieu of a filing fee. So even though it's not till February that somebody will pull papers to actually run, the early date of December 19th, and we don't know whether it's the 19th date or the date in February that the court's going to say that's when the election officially begins. So we've got a very short window. And so we're going to ask that the 3-judge panel have a hearing and make a decision by about Thanksgiving. Because if whichever side loses, they're going to want to appeal to the Supreme Court. And so you have to have enough time for the rocket docket, and the rocket docket at the Supreme Court moves very, very quick. You don't have oral arguments. It's just done on the briefing, but that usually takes about 7 to 21 days. So you want to make sure that you have enough time before the December 19th deadline that the Supreme Court can make a decision. Are they going to allow the new lines to take effect, or are they going to keep the old lines? And so all of this right here, this litigation that we're talking about, you got to understand what's going on in the Supreme Court right now.
We're talking about state or U.S. Supreme?
Because on October 15th, the United States Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments in the case of Calais versus the state of Louisiana. Now, in Calais versus the state of Louisiana, this was a decision that the Supreme Court heard last year, but they decided they weren't ready to make a decision, and so they kicked it to this year. And on August 1st, the Supreme Court sent to both parties and said, we want you to brief this new issue. The new issue we want you to brief is when a state draws Voting Right Act districts, just the fact alone of drawing a district with race in mind, does that violate the 14th and the 15th Amendment?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So on Wednesday of this week, the Calais parties filed their Supreme Court brief, and late August, the state of Louisiana and the Robinson Press defendants filed their briefs. And so the briefing is going to be done here in the next couple of weeks. On October 15th, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing testimony on this Calais versus Louisiana case. Now, let me help you understand what happened here. In 2021, Louisiana drew their lines. They had 6 congressional districts. And traditionally, in the state of Louisiana, one of these districts is drawn for the black community. There has been a lot of racism in the state of Louisiana, and so they meet what's called the Gringos conditions, the 3 conditions. There's been systematic racism. They're compact enough, and there's enough of them that we can draw a congressional district for the black Americans. Traditionally, there's been one district. It's been going on for quite a few years. There are 6 congressional districts, so there's one drawn for the African Americans, and then these 5 other, drawn around it. Well, some people sued the state of Louisiana and said, "Hey, there's enough blacks in Louisiana. You should be drawing us 2 districts."
Gotcha.
And a federal judge, 3-judge panel said, "Yep, you're right. Go back and redraw it with 2 districts." And so the legislature, under protest, redrew it. But the second district was very weird shaped. It's what you would call a gerrymander. You've taken these people 150 miles away and put them in with this community, and you got this little nub here and this little nub here, and it's very clear that the second, the first one, it actually looks kind of compact. You don't really, just looking at a map, you wouldn't say, "Oh, that's a gerrymandered."
Yeah.
But the second one that they had to draw in order to follow the judge's order, I mean, it was ugly looking. It's an ugly gerrymander. And so as soon as the legislature drew this map that had 2 districts, Calais sues the state of Louisiana and says, "Hey, now you're violating the 14th and 15th Amendment. You're violating our equal protection rights. You are drawing with race in mind. We're supposed to live in a colorblind society, and the fact that you're drawing the second district this way says that race is the predominant factor, and you are thus giving an advantage to a minority community. You are giving an advantage that I don't get as an American because I'm not black. I don't get a district that's drawn just for me."
Yeah.
That has made its way up to the United States Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is now looking, by drawing these Voting Right Act districts, are we now violating the Constitution? So you got to understand that is being heard by the Supreme Court on October 15th. 2 weeks later, California is voting on Prop 50. And so, as and everybody knows that there's going to be a lawsuit filed.
Yeah.
I haven't been shy about telling people, and anybody who understands this knows that the lines were drawn so badly that there are going to be lawsuits filed over it.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be natural that this case is going to make its way to the United States Supreme Court, probably by, if, again, I got to classify it. If the voters vote yes, this case will probably make it to the Supreme Court before Christmas of this year, and they will be making a determination, do the old lines control or do the new lines control, and probably puts the state of California in litigation for many, many years. Litigation that we did not have because they never sued. Nobody ever sued under the old lines.
Gotcha. It's so interesting. We're talking about the lines, and I keep thinking of something that happened when everything started rolling here. There was a huge question about who drew the lines. Do we know who drew the lines at this point?
Basically, the Democrat, the DCCC, the Democrat Congressional Caucus in D.C., Nancy Pelosi, she funded the best I understand, the DCCC paid the map maker who drew the lines that the legislature basically just rubber stamps. The legislature, the state of California did not pay money to a map maker to draw the lines. The state of California, all they did is this legislatures, it's like, oh, these are the lines we're supposed to take? Yes, Nancy Pelosi, we are going to accept these.
Governor Newsom was just basically, all right, and Nancy, take care of that for me. It's basically what happened.
Basically what happened.
What's the DCCC?
DCCC.
DCCC was Democrat Congressional Caucus?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the NRCC is the National Republican Congressional Caucus.
Yeah.
So it's the DCCC, it's the Democrat, something Congressional Caucus. I don't remember, their acronym as well.
Yeah.
So like the Texas legislature, when they drew the lines, they paid out of the state's budget a map maker who worked with the legislature. The legislature said, hey, we want the lines here, 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 and here. And, it's a map maker, a demographer who actually goes in and says, well, okay, we need, each district to be 750,000 people. So if I draw the lines, on this county, this county, this county, this county, I'm at 745,000. I need to get another 5,000. So how do I cut into this county and pull the 5,000 more? So a demographer goes through that. So when Texas redrew the lines, they paid for the demographer. The taxpayers paid for the demographer who worked with the legislature to draw the lines. When Louisiana drew their lines and had to redraw the lines, they paid a demographer who helped them draw the lines.
Yeah.
When California, when the California Commission
took care of it.
when the California Commission drew the lines,
they paid a demographer.
The state of California paid a demographer who helped them draw the lines. But when the California legislature is unconstitutionally drawing the lines, they went to a political organization and had a political organization pay somebody to draw the lines for them. This was not something that the legislature really had any say over. This was Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, the national Democrats saying to California, we don't trust you to draw the lines. The state of California is not going to pay the person to draw the lines for you where you get input. We're going to draw the lines. We're going to put it all together and we're just going to give it to you and you must accept it.
That's so crazy. We truly live in one party Democrat rule in this state. It often feels like.
Yeah.
Especially with, seeing Pelosi and Newsom and the history with, Jerry Brown and the Gettys and just how the whole thing has been pretty incestuous for the last 60 years. I'm wondering, we kind of talked about what could happen in the future. I've been seeing some of the polling. Gavin's poll says that they're like super far ahead. They're like up to like 60%. I saw some other polling that showed that they don't have that much support. They're just under like 50, and I think it's 38 or 39% against for no.
This is going to be a turnout election.
Yeah,
it's 100% going to be which side turns out to vote. So,
how can we get people to turn out to vote? What would be your best argument for somebody who's sitting at home and just completely apathetic?
This is Prop 50.
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody who wants to vote no on Prop 50 to, number one, pull out their cell phone.
Yeah.
You have 50 Californians.
Yeah.
You send them a text. I am voting no. Or I would actually go do this. See this podcast? I want you to watch it. link it into your text and say, hey, watch this podcast. There's a lawyer here explaining how Gavin Newsom is lying to you. We need to vote no. And send that to 50 Californians. That's the first thing that you can do. The number 2 thing you can do, everybody is mailed a ballot. The day you get that ballot, fill it out. It's one question. Fill it out, put it in the envelope, and mail it back. And within a couple days, you can go online and check and make sure that they have got your ballot. If they didn't get your ballot, you can go down there, get a provisional ballot, and you can correct the problem. But make sure that they get your ballot and get it in early, because the sooner you get your ballot in, the sooner you're going to stop getting inundated with text messages from everybody saying vote no on it, and stop the door knockers from coming to your door, and all the campaigns that are spending money filling your mailbox up with flyers on Proposition 50.
Yeah.
You're going to allow the campaign, on the No on 50 campaign, to go spend that money to get somebody else out to the polls, because until they got your vote, they're going to just keep pounding you with no on 50. So vote as soon as you get your ballot. Don't wait until election day to go in and vote on election day for a single issue on a special election. Just get it done. And then as soon as you get your ballot, go back to your texting people and say, hey, I've already voted. Get your ballot in now. And you keep bugging them until they tell you, yes, I have voted. I have turned in my ballot. And if they need help, you say, hey, I'll come by and I'll pick up your ballot and I will take it down to the register of voters for you. So we got to turn our people out. Gavin's people are motivated because they dislike Donald Trump. They don't dislike him. They hate him.
Yeah. It's visceral.
It's very visceral. Yeah. They hate him. They are going to come out to vote.
Yeah.
But the thing out is, this is a special election with one issue that many people do not fully understand what's going on. So the very core Democrat community, the most politically ravenous Democrats that hate Trump, you're going to count on them voting.
Yeah.
The most politically active Republicans, they're going to vote.
Yeah.
It's the big middle. And in a special election like this is a big middle. It's probably about 80% of the population of California is not following political news on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So some of the most non-political people, 80% of our population, they're going to decide it. And it's going to be your Aunt Molly. It's going to be Uncle Henry.
Yeah.
It's going to be your grandparents. It's going to be your parents. It's the people who may not follow politics as closely as you do. They need you to tell them, we're not going to let Gavin Newsom unconstitutionally take power for himself. It's not temporary. Because what's going to happen is, if this is allowed to pass, then in 2032, after the commission draws the lines, why wait for a court to make a decision? Why wait for a referendum? The legislature is going to say, I don't like those lines. We're going to redraw them. And it's going to happen in 2042. It's going to happen in 2052. And the commission will not have any power. So if we want the commission to draw the lines, we got to stop Gavin Newsom this time. And while I am prepared to go into court and stop it, it is much better if the voters of the state of California spank Gavin Newsom and say, no, you are not going to play partisan politics with our commission.
And for context, you mentioned it 2032. It's because I think part of the plan was for it to go for the next 2 election cycles.
Well, redistricting happens every 10 years.
Yeah.
So in every year ending with a 0, the United States Census takes place.
Yeah.
And every year ending with a 1, state legislatures or commissions redraw congressional districts. They also redraw, your county supervisors or commissioners. You draw state senators, state assembly, every year that ends with a 1, states and counties and cities have to do a redistricting process. It's required. You have, people move, so every 10 years you have to redraw it so that there is proportional representation.
Yeah.
In every year ending with a 2 is the first congressional election under the new maps. So in 2030 is our next census. Next 2031 is when the Redistricting Commission would redraw the lines. And so thus, in 2032, if the California legislature doesn't like what the commission did,
they can just overturn it.
They're just going to send another ballot initiative to the voters and say, hey, we don't like it. Vote for the new maps that we have drawn. And so we have to stop that because it's not going to be temporary. We have to end it so no legislature tries this again.
So it's so crazy. They never stop with the power grabs.
Well, here we go. Let's go back to what I started it with.
Yeah.
Texas had a constitutional problem. It constitutionally fixed that unconstitutional problem.
Yeah.
California did not have a constitutional problem, and they unconstitutionally created unconstitutional districts. That, in a summary, is what's going on. It's not about Trump. It's not about Gavin. It's not about Texas. It is about the California legislature overturning the will of the people to seize back for themselves power that was taken away from them because for the last 100 years, the California legislature had a long history of violating the people's trust with the redistricting process. Because of this 100-year history of the games that they played with the redrawing of the lines, the people of the state of California said, enough is enough. We're going to take this power away from you. And Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi and the California legislature is looking, how do we end this commission? And it would not surprise me that if the voters vote yes, sometime in the next 4 years, there will be a bill there will be another initiative to end the commission as to at least congressional districts. Now, Gavin Newsom is going to want to be out of the governors when that happens. So I kind of would predict that it would happen in like 2027 or 2028 after he's gone. But the game, Nancy Pelosi doesn't want it. They want this power. They want this power back. And so we, the voters, have voted twice that we don't want them to have this power. We need to vote no to ensure that they do not have this power. So
legislatively, for the state itself, what could this mean beyond just the redistricting? Could this mean that Democrats will have even more of a supermajority and be able to just ram through even more? It's basically what they're doing. So I don't know.
This is only congressional districts.
Congressional.
This does not apply.
So for only U.S. Congress to flip the power structure out there. And okay.
Yeah. Now, if they win this and they decide that they want to end the commission for 2032 for congressional races or something like that, they might just take a whole SWAT and just try to get rid of the whole thing and blame Donald Trump or whatever. If they figure out that they can destroy the commission by blaming Donald Trump trying to destroy democracy, they are going to find a way because they do not like this. Democrats
don't like not having the power.
They don't like having the power.
Yeah.
They don't like being handcuffed. Yeah. And the people said, enough is enough. We don't like how you're abusing it. We're putting it in the Constitution. We're taking this power away from you. And it's the Democrat Party is going to have to live within these boundaries when they are governing. And they want to get rid of those handcuffs.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. This was incredibly educational for me. I'm not really a legal scholar, as folks at home could probably tell, but it's great to have people like you in the party. I think these are genuinely, if you're a Republican in this state, these are like genuinely scary times because we're already in the super minority here. They're trying to really wipe us out. And it's already not representational. We're 40% of the electorate we have 12 seats, or even less than 12 seats, right?
We only have 9 seats right
We have
now.
9 seats. We're about to lose 4.
Yeah.
So, it's you got to get out to vote. If there's ever been motivation to get other people to vote, right now is the time. I would say put in the same effort that was put into electing Trump, to make it too big to rig. One thing we didn't cover is there actually going to be in-person voting?
Yeah, you can vote at the polls on Election Day. You can vote at the polls during the early voting. You can vote by mail. So there's, really 3, your ballot is going to be mailed to you. And just like a normal election, you can vote it, fill it out, vote it right then and there, and mail it back or drop it off in a ballot box. I personally will, fill it out and then, drop it off probably at a register of voters office. I tend to like to drop it off early. I mean, quite often I will vote on Election Day, but because of all the travel that I'm doing, trying to encourage people to vote no, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be around on Election Day. So because of how important it is to actually vote, the day I get my ballot, I will be filling it out. And then sometime when I'm driving by the Register of Voters office, I will actually drop it in at the voting box at the Register of Voters, probably within 2 or 3 days of the ballots being mailed out. That is what I personally do. Even though I tend to like to vote on Election Day, that is what I'm going to be doing. So that's option 1. Option 2 is that we have these vote centers. They open up before the election. You can go in and vote in person on the machine. You surrender your ballot. They give you a new ballot that goes through the machine. You vote. You get to verify, yes, that's how I voted, and you drop it into the bin. Option 3 is you go vote on Election Day. So you have all 3 avenues available to you. Just go vote. I prefer that we get it as early as possible because so that those people that are spending the money trying to make sure that we get the people who want to vote no out to the votes, they stop spending money on you and go spend it on the lower propensity voters to educate them and get them out to vote.
Well, go out to vote. Well, Mark, again, thank you so much. When I heard you speak at the convention, I was like, I'm so happy we have this guy on our side because we need people like you. I'm so happy that you're working on this. If you want to take a moment and look into the camera and give out your social media or a website where people can support you or support No on Prop 50, feel free to.
So my name is Mark Meuser, Meuser. You can find me on X. You can find me on Facebook. Again, it's going to be my name at Mark Meuser, MarkMeuser. Look forward to seeing you out there, and let's get out there and let's stop Gavin Newsom's greedy, unconstitutional power grab.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you.
Thank you.